Happy wife equals happy life. Okay. She's not happy. He's not going to be focused. You can see that he wasn't focused in the game today. Well, he only had to be focused for the second half, right? And he won. It's going to get worse.
On today's Top Shelf Tuesday edition of the Odd Coaches Podcast, Dr. Adams and the OCP team of correspondents recap NFL Week 2. Who's off to a great start? Who needs to panic early? Also, how did Dr. Adams' picks go this week? Strictly for entertainment purposes only, of course, as well as a preview of Week 2. Welcome to today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams. My partner, Coach Mike Franchise Francis, is once again on assignment. But again, we have, to quote the 50s in my dated references, a cavalcade of stars. So first of all, Brian Beaubien, Commanders Insider. How are you today, sir?
Just fantastic. I'm happy that I was coaching a 12U softball game during that debacle, so I missed most of it.
Teaching friends, that's called good sharing. Hey, Chris Schauer, fans, the Raiders game is still on, so if you hear Chris say a few words that maybe Coach Franchise will say, hey, we're still living. Chris, how you doing, man?
One player away, it seems like. I'm watching this. I don't understand how it got to be tied and how it got into overtime.
Yes, and Cliff Kingsbury called 4 bad plays in a row, and I don't know how he got away with that.
Yeah, I'm ready.
And Mike King, our Giants aficionado, Mr. King. How are you doing, sir? Thank you for joining us.
We can't have a losing record until week 5, the earliest. So I'm pretty good. It's been a while.
I miss this snarkiness, man. So in segment 1, it'll be my games of interest and the correspondents reacting to me along with my randomness. Segment 2, we tag off to them to talk about today's best, today's biggest surprise, today's biggest disappointment, and what we should look for next week. And segment 3 is strictly for entertainment purposes only, but let's just say I was not entertained today by these games, but that's why it's called a game of chance. But I want to start off with Baltimore versus Miami, and there's 2 things, fellas, that are on my list. 1, pay Lamar. That dude's good, and there is no one in the league doing what he's doing. And 2, despite my colleagues talking about Tua's noodle arm, he looked pretty good today. Brian, any thoughts about the Baltimore-Miami game?
I think Tyreek is a game changer. Mahomes has enough weapons in Kansas City to make up for his loss, but Tua hasn't had anybody like that to throw to. And if he can continue to just throw the ball up and Tyreek will go get it, then it'll be fine.
All right, Chris, what do you think, man?
Oh, my game's still happening. Okay, so that game, that was wild, right? I had picked Baltimore, and I thought
so did I. Oh, sorry.
I thought Lamar was going to give him a lesson and say, okay, here's how it's done. And he really did, right? But that dude, 6 touchdowns. My God. 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but whatever, 6 touchdowns. And it was a wild game. I wish I was there.
Mike, what do you think?
I think Tua was doing some game film, watching Leah, his little brother, yesterday, beat SMU. And no, okay. I think Tua knew he was on my bench in fantasy, and I started Trey Lance, and I think that's why it happened.
And this is why I don't play fantasy, but obviously I haven't betted well either. So the second thing comes from Thursday. And I happened to be in San Diego at a local establishment. Shout out to all of my family in San Diego, and we miss you, Uncle Paul. And I was watching the Chargers play in San Diego, and all of the TVs were on the Los Angeles Chargers game, and two things came about. One, Mahomes is good. And two, Justin Herbert's good too, but you better make sure he's healthy because he got broke up. Okay. That injury looked real. So I don't know if he's going to have to sit out. Brian, did you get a chance to see that game on Thursday? And any thoughts about Mahomes or Justin Herbert?
I mean, I didn't watch it, but just in general, the better quarterback is going to win 90% of these games. And the better quarterback won the game. And I think you're right that they got to protect Herbert. He's not the same kind of quarterback as these guys who are able to be as fleet of foot. And so they gotta watch him. And I hope that he can, I hope that the rib injury isn't going to stop him, but that's going to be hard. And
Chris,
keep
go ahead.
keep the Tyrod Taylor doctor away from him.
Man, it's Tyrod too, and that's a good one right there. Chris, any thoughts?
Mahomes didn't look as good this week. He threw some interceptions that the officials kind of reversed on us. I think there were 3 total or something like that. That game kind of went the way I thought it would. I thought Kansas City would win. I thought they'd cover, though. They didn't cover. Almost everything else went my way on that game. I'm so disappointed that Abear is hurt. Oh, that's a shame. That really is a shame for San Diego. I'm not, well, formerly San Diego, Los Angeles now, but those Chargers, okay, they're either going to have to rest them, and they can, but not this week. I don't think. I think Jacksonville is going to be some trouble for the Chargers this week.
All right, Mike, what do you think?
I just can't believe the difference in quarterback play for the AFC versus the NFC. When you got a game like that with Mahomes, Herbert, then you think there's Lamar, there's Burrow. Mac Jones is young, but he's pretty good. The AFC just got everybody. It's just a fun game to watch. It's like watching 2 different sports. Good AFC teams playing versus NFC teams playing. Just 2 different sports.
All right. Speaking of quarterback play, fans following was supposed to join us today. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it. But the group text started to chatter early in the 49ers and Seahawks game. Trey Lance got injured. We obviously don't want any injuries. But Follerin said early on, as a 49ers fan, that he didn't mind having Jimmy G there and stop worried about feelings and emotions. Of course, he played for me, so that might have something to do with it. But I got to get your all reaction to Jimmy G coming back in, and it seems like he might have to ride this thing out for a minute. Brian, what are your thoughts on Jimmy G now being the quarterback of the 49ers for the foreseeable future?
I think they probably wish they would have signed him to a longer-term deal because that Trey Lance injury looked a lot like the Dak injury from a couple years ago, and we know that Dak didn't look right when he came back for a couple games, couple weeks. So he missed the entire season and then wasn't right to come back. So I would imagine there's some parallels there. It's a terrible injury for Lance, especially just after being named the starter, and he's definitely done for the season for sure. Jimmy G's done it before, so he's going to take the reins, but not obviously nearly as dynamic as Trey Lance had the potential to be.
And before I get to you, Chris, I am looking at news reports, and
don't even. They fumbled it and it's going to ran it in.
So what do we got? Arizona won?
By 6.
Arizona won.
Oh, man. So while you compose yourself, San Francisco 49ers quarterback Trey Lance, it is officially determined, broke his right ankle and will have season-ending surgery on Monday. Coach Kyle Shanahan said after their 27-7 win over Seattle. So, Chris, we're sorry about the Raiders. Believe me, I'm as sorry as you are this time. Any thoughts on Trey Lance and his injury and Jimmy G coming back in?
I think that San Francisco will continue to win the same games that we predicted at the beginning of the season, regardless of who the quarterback is.
Okay.
So I think, Lance, Garoppolo, it doesn't matter. I think that they have an all-around good team, good coaching staff, and they will pull it through. And those damn Raiders, okay? 0-2. Denver Broncos are actually better. You're kidding me, right?
Save that for segment 2. And Mr. King, go ahead and close us out with 49ers. Trey Lance moving down, unfortunately due to injury, and Jimmy G coming in.
I think a lot of the time when you have a veteran being replaced by the new quarterback, it's better for the long term, not necessarily the short term. So I think this is actually a good thing for the 49ers short term, but obviously they want to have their future. But I look back to when the Giants put Eli Manning in over Kurt Warner. They were a playoff team with Kurt Warner, and then they didn't win again. It's better for the long term, but in the short term, if they started Kurt Warner, they would have had a better season. So I think 49ers might be better in the short term.
All right. Well, I've got a couple of more random thoughts before we end segment 1. Money well spent. Seattle Seahawks safety Jamal Adams is expected to miss the remainder of the NFL season after suffering an injury to his quad tendon. The Seahawks acquired Adams from the Jets in 2020 for a package that included first-round picks in 2021 and 2022. They signed him to a 4-year, $70 million extension last summer that made him the highest-paid safety. Man, that's a lot of money and a lot of picks for a safety, and unfortunately, he won't be playing. So I just had to get that out, man. No need to comment. I just had to. Why are we spending that kind of money on a safety? But I do want your opinions on this, gentlemen. Is this hate or healthy? And Mr. King, you will be first. Ryan Fitzpatrick played in the NFL for 17 seasons, but apparently it wasn't long enough to earn the respect of Tom Brady. So during a recent interview, he brought up the fact that when he was with Buffalo, they finally got a victory over Brady. He wanted the midfield handshake at the end of the game. Brady ran off the field without taking part in the post-game handshake, and it has bugged him since then, and he brought it up. So, Mike, as somebody who has held a grudge, tell me your thoughts. Is that healthy or is it hate?
To hold a grudge about that? That's healthy.
Should Fitzpatrick let that go?
Yeah. Oh, no, because then competitors, that's sometimes you need that. You need to didn't Jordan just make stuff up just to convince himself that someone said something bad so he could play better against them in the next thing? I think that's fine. All
right, Bobian.
I mean, if it hurts his feelings, I guess that he's going to remember it. I don't know. I feel like getting snubbed like that, if it was, I don't know, Aaron Rodgers maybe getting snubbed by Tom Brady, maybe that would be a little bit more meaningful, but it was Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Chris, is that healthy or hate, man?
Oh, just get over it. My God, just go play. Get over it.
Or don't call into radio shows.
Oh, man.
That's just what he's doing.
All right. We're going to end this segment with a message to Tom Brady. Hey, Tom, it rarely ends well. So superstar couple Giselle and Tom Brady, who wed in 2009, are going through a difficult period. This is now like public news. The two are currently living separately, according to CNN. In an interview published last week, Giselle had mentioned that she had concerns about her husband returning to the field after initially retiring. Tom Brady had mentioned in one of his podcasts that he hasn't had Christmas or Thanksgiving in 23 years with his family. Fellas, what are we thinking? Brian, start us off. Tom, it rarely ends well. What do you think is going to happen with this? Is this going to affect him on the field?
I'm more concerned about the fact that this has been reported by CNN. There are so many other things that CNN could be reporting on. Leave the Tom Brady stuff to People Magazine, man. Come on, get out of here with that.
Going to Mike as a fellow social studies teacher. What do you think, my friend? And yes, that was a CNN quote.
I'm on her side of this one. She stepped back for her career, so his career was in the focus.
And she's the breadwinner. And she's the breadwinner.
And she's the breadwinner. Yeah, and she made more than him the whole time while she stepped back. He could stop. His legacy is cemented. He could stop. I don't think it's going to affect him on the field, though. I think that the age, that number will affect him on the field. I don't think this will.
Chris, any thoughts to close us out?
Happy wife equals happy life. Okay. She's not happy. He's not going to be focused. You can see that he wasn't focused in the game today. Well, he only had to be focused for the second half. Right. And he won. It's going to get worse. Like I tweeted before, it's just going to get worse and worse as the season goes on, and his refusal and his stubbornness to stay in the game. He can definitely play. I don't think the age is the factor. I think this is going to be where his attention is elsewhere, and they're going to lose some games because of it.
All right. Well, again, as somebody who's coached and has missed holidays, it can provide pause, and two of the gentlemen on the screen understand that from my perspective. So, Tom, I'd have some candy waiting or something, and we'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fowler Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. In segment 2, it is all about our OCP team correspondents. So, Brian, today's best in your eyes. What was the best thing you saw today?
It's Tua. The Ravens defense is generally a good one, and he was able to carve him up today and come back from a 21-point deficit to put the Dolphins on top. So I thought I was really impressed with his play.
All right, Chris, what's the best thing you saw today?
Oh, I was going to go with either Hill or Tua, but I decided to go with the entire Jaguar team. The fact that they just totally decimated the Colts, just across the board. They had the 3 sacks, 3 interceptions. They only allowed 50-something yards in passing. They allowed less than 200 in rushing, less than 200 in passing. I mean, it was tremendous effort by the Jaguars.
Chris, since you brought it up, how mad are you if you're a Colts fan at Andrew Luck?
Super.
My God, they're supposed to be like elite right now. And Matty Ice looks like he is on ice. And I have no idea who the backup is, but I had to get that in.
Yeah, he's basically their own backup. He's his own backup. It seems like that's what he was playing like today.
Man. And Mike, what is today's best? What's the best thing you saw?
I mean, I don't like it, but I'll go Dallas because they could have laid down and died. I thought their season was over, and maybe it's not.
It is, but, good win today. Good win today. Ryan, what was today's biggest surprise, sir?
I think it's New England being able to go into Pittsburgh and score 17. That's what it's going to take to beat Pittsburgh all season long. And I didn't think that New England would have it in them, and they did.
All right, Chris, what was your biggest surprise today?
Okay, that's a good one. It's a good one, Brian. My biggest surprise was Flacco.
At 107, they rolled him out and got the win against the Browns.
Did you believe it? Can you believe it? Over 300 yards in passing, 4 touchdowns. That dude.
Yeah, don't remind me in that segment 3. We're gonna move on, Chris, to go to Mike. Mike, what was your biggest surprise today?
That the AFC North was winless. 0-4. They played the Jets. The Bengals were big favorites over the Cowboys. The Ravens were favorites. Steelers, again, Steelers, Patriots. That was kind of a pick 'em. 0-4.
That's why I have King out, because he would do this at work too. Just something random. I love that's good stuff. All right, Brian, today's biggest disappointment.
The Colts. They weren't supposed to be this bad. I know that their number 1 receiver was out, but to lay an egg like that against the Jaguars are still the Jaguars. They're not anything to write home about. And to just lay an egg like that was pretty embarrassing.
All right, Chris, what do you think, sir?
I'm going with Cincinnati on Burrow again. Even though he came back and tied the game, the fact that they were favored by so many points and they lost it, no, that's a huge disappointment. They were in the Super Bowl last year, and now look at them. They're just like the Raiders.
Okay, real quick, Chris, and you guys can respond if you like. Cincinnati wasn't supposed to be there anyway. Remember last year, Tennessee was supposed to beat them. So they went on a nice little run, but that didn't make you good. That made you good right now. And just like the Atlanta Hawks, yes, I snuck in an NBA reference. Just because you played well during a bad season for a lot of people didn't make you a good team. So now we got people thinking Cincinnati's good when they're not good. And we said this in the preseason. So, hey, go for one for the odd coaches and telling you that, hey, although you were supposed to win this game, yes, you were. It ain't that good. So, Mike, what about you?
I'm also going Cincinnati because you got this window right now where maybe you were better than you were supposed to be last year, but you got a quarterback, a receiver, and they're on that first contract. And this is when you could really do some damage before you got to pay everybody. And then all of a sudden your team's not as good. So they got this window right now, and they were big favorites both weeks. And you're 0-2, and it's going to be tough. You got to figure out the offensive line, which they thought they did, and they didn't.
Yeah, Joe is still on his back. Okay. So, Brian, what should we look for next week?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with again the quarterback play in the NFC, and see if anybody in the NFC can rise to the top. Mike mentioned it in the open about the AFC quarterbacks just outclassing the NFC quarterbacks. It's a quarterback league. If somebody doesn't step up and show something, we should probably going to see a run of AFC Super Bowl winners.
All right, Chris, what do you think? What should we look for next week?
There's a few games I'm going to keep an eye on. I'm going to look at Jets and Bengals. Right, I want to see if Flacco can continue or if Burrow is going to finally wake up. Will Superman continue? Will he fall to earth against Buffalo? I'm talking about Miami against Buffalo. Brady, will he be able to stay focused for longer than 2 quarters? Right. I mean, he is going up against Rodgers. So let's see what's going on there. And then if Abear can't play, what does that mean for Jacksonville? Will they beat the Chargers? And then we got to look at Pittsburgh and Cleveland. But again, if Cleveland can score 15 points, they got them.
Man, the Bills and Dolphins game is a bigger deal than we thought. And the Steelers and Browns are pretty much playing for their season. Week 3. Mike, who should we look for next week?
And I got to get one Giants reference in, so I'm going to go Giants-Dallas because all of a sudden that game has a little bit of juice. First place on the line, potentially.
Did we really just say? And it's true. First place on the. I can't even get it out. All right, fans. I need to take a break myself because that actually is first place on the lines. Eagles play after this taping, so we'll see what happens. And we'll be right back with my bad week, strictly for entertainment purposes only, on the Hot Coaches Podcast.
There is an old business adage that says, what gets measured and monitored gets done. It is also fact that deadlines spur action. That is what the CKA Save Project's academic monitoring service can do for student athletes. Measure and monitor their academic progress to improve their grades. Our academic monitoring services provide ongoing academic support for student athletes for a designated period of time. Our academic success coaches work with student athletes on time management and organizational skills, along with improving their ability to self-advocate. Every few weeks, our academic success coaches meet with student athletes to assess their academic progress as well as provide ongoing academic advising. If needed, student athletes have access to CKA Learning Specialists who provide virtual core subject academic support for student athletes. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3, strictly for entertainment purposes only. So, fans, we tape Sunday evenings, and there's a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. So when you hear this on Tuesday, don't get mad at us because I'm not including those jokers in some of this stuff. But I still think Buffalo's the best team. That's my 1. Kansas City's my 2. The Eagles are my 3. The Ravens are no longer my 4. That will be Minnesota, and Miami is number 5. Any thoughts on my top 5? Mr. King, since we caught it clean, what do you think about my top 5?
I mean, I don't have the Eagles in the top 5. I don't think they're that good.
Wait till Monday.
See after Monday.
Chris, what do you think?
The only thing I disagree with a few things. Where are the Rams?
They'll be there.
Okay, they'll be there, but they're not there yet.
They'll be there.
And Tampa Bay, I mean, as long as Brady's gonna, ruin his marriage, they're good.
No, but Rams should be there. Rams should be. Absolutely. So
and the 49ers, even without Lance.
Man, Folleran's got me married to the 49ers, and you'll find that out in the last part of this segment. Brian, what do you think? And yes, I should have included the Rams.
Well, I actually agree with the Buccaneers. I think their defense is actually better than what we thought they were going to be. And Tom can play with one eye on Giselle for the rest of the season, and their defense is going to keep them in games. I mean, so I think that somebody in one of my group texts today said this looks like the Baltimore Ravens of the early 2000s defense. I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but they look really good.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I didn't see the game because of the local what have you, but Tampa Bay wasn't playing well until the fight. And then after the fight, all the scoring took place. So maybe it was the fight. I don't know.
I think Tom was like, hey, I know how to fight.
Yeah.
I'm doing it at home.
Now, see, you added that. Okay. That's something franchise would have said. All right. So my picks of the week. Last week, I was 2-3. This week, I was, quite frankly, 0-5. Okay. I spent a lot of time on my picks, folks. And I had Baltimore -3.5. And for much of the day, as I do running around because I'm moving, I'm like, hey, that's going to be fine. We got this one in the bank. And 0.5, our intern extraordinaire said, hey, Dad, the Ravens are tied. I was like, tied? We talking about it tied. So goes that. So I'm 0-2 on the spread this year. The over-under. Man, I thought there was going to be a little bit more defense played in the Baltimore game. So I took under 44.5. That didn't work out for me. My 2 play of the week, and I do straight money line, was Cleveland and San Francisco. And, man, they're playing the Jets. What do you want from me? And Joe Flacco. Man, we're good. Nope, that didn't work out. My 3 play of the week, Cincinnati, Las Vegas, and the LA Rams. Done. And Brian Bobian, my money play of the week was the Washington Commanders traveling to Detroit, a team that hadn't been favored in over 20 some odd games. And quite frankly, they let me down. Can you explain what happened? Because they shouldn't lose like that to the blasted Detroit Lions. Tell me what happened, Brian.
Exactly what I told you in the preseason show would happen, Keith. And the fact that you took the Jaguars money line last week, perhaps we should fade your money line picks every week.
Oh, come on, man. They should have won that game. They're a better team, but apparently they're not.
I mean, their defense was, I don't know.
Man, I was really, I thought I had something there, but then again, in the college episode, you're going to find out that I picked Michigan State over Washington because I have a West Coast bias, and that didn't work out for me either. So moving forward, next week, week 3 games to watch: Las Vegas versus Tennessee, Kansas City versus Indianapolis. Indianapolis can't lose that one because it's going to be a long road back. Buffalo, Miami, I think that might even be the game of the week. Baltimore, New England, Philadelphia versus Washington, and Philadelphia is coming here to the metro area. Rams versus Arizona, and Green Bay, Tampa Bay. So look for my picks on social media on Sunday morning. And fans, Chris jumped in with some insights and nuggets. So thank you for that, Chris. That was awesome, buddy. That was awesome. So I want to tell you my season-long win totals before we wrap up. Pittsburgh, I have them over 7.5 wins. It's not working out well. Jacksonville's over 6.5. Got their first one. Buffalo over 11.5. They haven't played yet. Chargers over 10. They got 2. Minnesota over 9. Got 1, and they haven't played yet. New Orleans let me down today over 8. I got Philadelphia over 9. Mike, I think that's a safe pick. And San Francisco over 10 got their first win. So before we close, gentlemen, in order, any final thoughts? Chris, let's start with you. Anything for the good of the order?
I'm very disappointed in my team. I don't know what the hell happened to the Raiders. It happens every season like this, and I just live right on through it.
What an electric atmosphere you had, and
I
congratulations.
did, and then it was like, oh, boom. It was like, God.
Well, the Aces won, and Mark Davis went to the Aces game, so
That's true.
I appreciate that. Okay.
They
Mike,
did.
anything for the good of the order? And Matt, thank you for hanging out with us today. It's always good to talk.
Oh, no problem. We've got Kenny Galladay making $20 million. We got Leonard Williams making $30 million. Galladay got 2 snaps. Doesn't matter. We're just playing. We're just smoking mirrors, and we're just gonna keep surprising.
Is that like a wide receiver or something? Who's the?
I just like that so last week they gave Tony 2 snaps. This week they gave Galladay 2 snaps. They're just shuffling in and out wide receivers, but it shows that the owner is letting the GM and the coach do whatever they want, which is refreshing. Keep the people who don't know football away from football.
And Brian, I always like to hear your thoughts, sir. Any last thoughts?
As a Commanders fan, I'm really hoping that Aaron Judge hits 62 home runs and Albert Pujols hits his 700th because there's nothing else to look forward to for the rest of the season.
So before I let you go, Brian, I have said that Ron Rivera is a heck of a nice guy, and I would love to have a frosty beverage with him, but I've never been overwhelmed with his coaching. Can you, as a Commanders fan, tell me either am I being too harsh or that's about right? What do you think, sir?
I mean, thus far in his tenure, it seems that that's about right. He didn't light the world on fire in Carolina, and then he brought everybody from Carolina over to DC, and it's Carolina Redux, and I don't know why we assumed that the outcome would be any different. It's more the same from the franchise that we've seen for the last 30 years. And so they continue to rely on retreads instead of trying to find the next, they've had how many 4 or 5 guys from their coaching staff who've been the next young thing somewhere else, and they've never given them a shot. And I fear that until this owner is finally made to sell the team, that's going to continue to be the thing. He's going to continue to go for the guy whose name he knows, rather than who could be the next guru coach. So,
man, oh man, you had all kinds of coaches on the staff, and hey, Kirk looks pretty good right now. Kirk Cousins, it could have worked out. But I digress, man. Thank you, all of you, for joining us this evening. Thank you, fans, for watching. So, on behalf of my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, I am Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.